Hello and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We are back again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans, and once again we're having a look at emergence. So yes, they recently updated the card, though it does in some ways leave me with some more questions than answers in some ways, but we'll get to some of those questions. I think this is 4 or 5 matches, I think, that we're going to go through. I don't really know which order in which to kind of go at these in, because it's hard to pick. But I guess I'll start with the Hardys versus the Rascals. I think that this is interesting. It is kind of interesting as well because the Nemesis have their contractual rematch. The thing is, it's like, well, guys, Jeff can't go to Canada. So what are you going to do when you have to go to Victory Road in Canada? So that actually poses a lot more questions to me than a lot of other stuff, because the Rascals, I believe before this tag team match, they won a match against the actually maybe it was a couple of matches against the Nemesis. They won a match before Slammiversary, or at least one match. I think it might have been even more than that. I can't even remember now. But they won another match after Slammiversary against the Nemesis. So, like, the other shenanigans that are going along with saying, oh yeah, Nick Nemeth suspended, blah blah blah, and this and that and whatever else, is like, yeah, but that's not really the point. The point is the Rascals had beaten the sitting champions like twice before this. And yes, the Rascals, they had many last year, I believe it was. Actually, it was Wentz and Miguel having a match against the Hardys, but with Miguel having that hernia injury, he's out for a short period of time. So, and it is quite cool to see Myron. I think Myron has a lot of potential, and I think that TNA should have hired him and signed him a long time ago. But I don't really know why they didn't and why they haven't and whatever else. So, but whatever, it is what it is. He is here now, and he's doing some stuff, and I understand that he's got a kid and whatnot now, but hopefully he can, he can wrestle some. Obviously, he does a lot of wrestling on the indies, I think, but whatever. So, like I said before, I really don't think, like I said that there's potential with the Hardys in saying, let's look at finding younger teams to try to replace them. The Rascals are a perfect fit into that mold. People aren't going to accept the Rascals over the Hardys in this match again like they didn't before. I can't even remember what show it was at. Maybe it was an emergence. I don't remember. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The Hardys are going to get cheered here, and they're going to retain here because, again, it doesn't make any sense for you to pick up the belts and then you drop the belts straight away. That's just one of those things. Like, people don't think about that. Although, then again, I might say that some people, they don't follow perhaps as hard and fast as what I do with TNA and whatnot. So I'm watching every week, so I'm understanding basically what's going on and why it's going on and where it's going on and all this stuff. Whereas if you just say, oh, tune into the pay-per-view or whatever and that's it, you're missing a whole lot of context. Yes, you get those video packages and whatnot to see where we've kind of been and how we've got here. But it really doesn't really paint you a big enough picture if you just see, oh, these guys won. Yes, they won, but, they also won 2 or 3 weeks before that or whatever it was, and that wasn't in the package or whatever. So it's often not the full picture. Sometimes they say it on commentary or whatever in the tail of the tape or whatever you want to call it. But yeah. Like it's a fine match. Like again, and I feel like it's one of those matches that, helps, like I would say that I would look at putting First Class into a position like this, and we'll have to talk a little bit more about them in a minute, but like maybe I'll talk about them in a minute, a literal minute. But they need to be in a position like this. They need to be in that position of, especially since they're heels, of saying this is the new team to beat. Like this is the new young team to beat. And the Rascals are just a team that's, in that hunt and everyone likes and everyone, wants to see still and all of that. And Trey, I don't know where you're going to fit with Trey and with Myron and with Wentz. Actually, it's funny because like every single member of the Rascals except for Myron has held the X Division title. So that would be like an alright pursuit for Myron as well. Plus, again, like even so, you might just say, oh, well, he's not here to win. That doesn't really matter at some points. Like, it might not be the biggest and the best and the coolest or whatever sometimes with that, and saying, oh, let's put him into a program with Leon and have that at Victory Road or whatever, as long as Miguel's back. But whatever. It's one of those things. You've got to think like, okay, what else can we get? Like, maybe he won't even be on the roster. Who knows? But again, you've got to think of things like this. If he's going to be on the roster, even for a short period of time, okay, well, what else can we do with him? We need an opponent for Leon. Well, here he is. Maybe he's not going to win it, but, we get to showcase Leon. We get to showcase Myron. It's all around good, like I would try to do that even if you don't have Miguel back, because like you will have had them have this title opportunity. So then it's like, well, they've lost now. What are they going to do? Like, like you've got to think, where else can we do something with them? So, I don't know. We talked slightly about this next match, Santana versus Callahan, before. I don't know, dude. Like I said before, I'm on the fence, because I'm on the fence of thinking like Callahan's going to retire one way or the other in some regards. I feel like that's kind of the thing. I would like to see him get one more chance at the title, though. I kind of really want to see that, and I think it would do more for the Trick Williams kind of whole thing than it would do for Santana to beat Callahan in one of his potentially last matches. Like, again, I said before, you could do the Mick Foley thing with him and bring him back, or the Abyss sort of thing with him where he came out with his alter ego and whatnot. And then, had him return and did all this stuff and whatever else. But still, I feel like he is in that, he has a very physical style, and he has had that, thing going on for a long time where it seems like, he's trying to just pass the torch. And like, if he's trying to pass the torch to Santana and he's trying to go out this way, and if he can't really, sort of stand any more matches, that's cool. But we will find out at some point, I guess. Oh, actually, I was going to talk about First Class. Now, I find it really weird, because we know... Okay, first of all, Rich Swann returned to First Class, replacing Casey Navarro, because Casey Navarro has torn his ACL. Which is cool in some ways, but it's also a little bit awkward. I didn't really want to say much about the whole Brock Lesnar situation, but Rich Swann is not in the same sort of situation, but he's been accused of some things. That's why he left, or that's why he was removed from the roster. like a year or so ago, whatever it was, maybe even longer ago. But he's back now, so like I think he's been on good behavior. He was on the indies for a while doing stuff. I can't even remember where and who with and what and all the details and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know what to say about it. It's sort of similar to the Tessa Blanchard situation in some ways, and somewhat similar to like the Moose situation in some ways. A lot of, well, not a lot, but a few people on the roster have these kind of like, not question marks, but these sort of like red lights or red flags or whatever around them, and Rich just happens to have one because of these allegations, whether it was accidental or whatever else, or it was, but then again, it has happened like twice or whatever it has been. But then again, Wentz actually has a few questionable things going for him there too. So, but whatever. There have been a few people that have had questionable things, and you move along and say, well, they served their time and or whatever. If the judge ruled that they or the jury ruled that they were guilty or whatever, and then said, whatever, here's the sentence, then where would we be? I mean, like, it's not like with Lesnar where it's like it's an ongoing case or whatever else it is. I believe that the case has been, it might be, I don't know, but like, I don't want to comment too much on it because I don't know enough about it, so I don't want to talk about it, but it is one of those things, and it is an awkward situation to be in. They've got to, I think they were thinking like, how can we bring somebody in to First Class to replace Casey because he's injured? We need somebody in that tag team kind of thing, and like, I think they were like, Rich is the only one, or one of the only ones that makes any goddamn sense. But he's a great performer. So again, like, I don't want to excuse it. It's like the Benoit stuff. Great performer, don't want to excuse what he did, but you can't deny how good they kind of were, or how good they kind of are. Because Rich, he's good at what he does. He was a great babyface, good, a decent heel, I think, for the most part. I think he really just got running with his or started with his heel work in many ways, and we didn't really get to see how good he could be as a heel persona before sort of, he got like released and whatnot and all that stuff happened. Though then again, it wasn't. I still think, he needs to just be him, but yet a little bit snarky, I guess, in some ways. So, but I don't know. But yeah, I don't know, and it doesn't really impact too much because, like, I was talking about First Class just a minute ago, but they're not really scheduled for anything yet. So we'll maybe they'll be floating around with Trick Williams, but that'll be like mostly it. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, the Knockouts Tag Team Titles match, which is a 4-team match. And this is something I wanted to talk about before because it's great that they're actually doing this, and I think they should have done it ages ago. But the Fatal Influences versus the Inspiration versus Zaya Brookside and Lei Ling Lee versus the Elegance brand, which is M by Elegance and what's her name? Heather by Elegance. So I said before, if you have a faction like the Elegance brand, they need the Freebird rule. They need to be able to, go out there and whoever, defend the belt. Like, it doesn't matter who's part of the faction or who won the belts. The whole faction has to, defend the belts. So, but yeah, like I said before, like I don't really think like there's much point in overly going through a lot of this. I don't know. Would it be better to have the titles on NXT people for a few months or whatever else it is, and then put the belts on to some babyface team? Like, it's tough to say, but I would just say no, because you're at a certain point you're just hot potatoing the title for no real reason. And like I don't really like Leiling Lee as a singles wrestler that much. I don't think she's really showed me a whole lot. But I like Brookside quite a bit, and I think that she could be ready for like starting to look at being in that upper picture. So now, I guess like somehow the Elegance brand, especially with the fact that the concierge and Ash are going to be at ringside or whatever, is going to probably tip somehow it in their favor. I don't know, but whatever. Though then again, you could say that for JC, maybe she'll be in the Fatal Influences corner. Who knows? But now I want to see, I want to talk about the Knockouts title, the proper Knockouts title. We don't know what the match is at Emergence, and they've only got next week to actually announce it, or till next week to actually announce it. Now, before we heard that whoever won the match between JC and Ash would have to face Marsha, which means that JC would be facing Marsha because she won the match technically, and she retained. But I do keep thinking like they might be trying to go into a triple threat. I don't know, but it hasn't been announced, and I don't know what's going on. So that's where I'm at with that. I just want to put that. I think we even talked about a little bit about it, but yeah, like I need to put that down there, and they need to have already just said, look, it's going to be a triple threat. You know, not next week go, oh yeah, it's a triple threat. You know, like, not that it matters that much, but still, it's just something. And I think I mentioned this next one, the Hometown Man versus Ryan. Oh no, I didn't mention this, but this is based on the fact that Nick Nemeth suspended. The Hometown Man will face Ryan Nemeth, so I could feel like this is like a pre-show match, better pre-show match than the Elegance brand 4-way match, because again, like, those girls keep getting screwed and they don't deserve to never be on the show, you know. And this is just like a throwaway match that doesn't really matter. And if the Hometown Man win, like, I don't really care. Like, but in some ways, I think Ryan kind of needs it more, especially. So, but whatever. Macklin versus Jake something in a no DQ, no countouts match for the International Championship. I feel like Macklin's winning this thing. There's nothing really behind his rivalry, or not enough behind his rivalry with Jake something for me to consider that he's going to lose it still. So, and I kind of still feel like maybe Macklin will challenge for the world title. I don't know. So, but I do kind of want to see that, actually, honestly. But yeah, right now that is all that we know about what's upcoming. So I don't know whether I guess we'll have another update, and I'll have to try to get it out quickly next week. And then we'll have the review. Obviously, that'll start building our road, us up to Victory Road, and then off to Bound for Glory after that. And I do think that they're going to have to pull their finger out with some things, especially like either signings or returns or whatever. And it does hurt when it's like somebody's just injured and you can't get them back or whatever, like Elijah or whatever else it is. I'm sure they had big plans for him, but it's just like, well, he's injured, so what can we do? Same thing with Trey, though he's not as injured, but still, it's like, well, better take this time off or whatever. But it is. It's annoying when you don't have the people, but it's just one of those things. You've got to go through it, and you've got to say, all right, well, we've got to work with who we've got, which makes you like work with them harder in some ways, or work harder on them, because hey, that's all we've got. We don't have this person or that person, so we've got to bring out the best in the handful or few or whatever people that we do have. So that is a good way to do things a lot of the time, because you're not spreading your interest out onto too many people that don't like. There are too many people on there that don't get TV or enough TV time, but also there is a problem of having some people being like taking up too much TV time as well. So you really need to pick and choose. But whatever, yeah, I just think that this has to build up, and I think maybe Kazarian might be in this international title division. I don't know. Maybe they're teasing that. I don't know. But we'll wait and we'll see. So for now, that is it. As I said, hope you all have enjoyed this one, and hope you will all join me again in another one.